continue. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, greetings, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Nocturnal Unwrap podcast, brought to you by the Mentis, a non-profitable organization. I'm your host, Pilasande Shongwe, and I've been hosting the podcast for the past year and a half or so now. And I'm very excited to introduce some of the other guys that are joining us in the team this year to ensure that we keep these conversations coming to your screen. But before I introduce my other co-host, I'd like to introduce you guys to the beautiful lady that you see on screen, my friend and colleague, Kraak. Kristan, how are you doing?
I'm very good. And yourself?
I am very good, thank you. It's been an extremely tiresome week. I
It
feel good
has.
though. But yeah, I'm really excited to have the conversation. And I just think it's important that we have the conversation now before we upload any of our other podcasts so that people know who Simo is and don't get surprised when they see him hosting some of the podcasts. But yeah, how are you doing, Kristan?
I'm good. But just before I get to all of that, Simo has had a tweet where we have introduced who he is. But just before we upload all the other podcasts, I just thought I'd introduce myself as well. My name
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
Kristan Kraak. I'm the office and media manager of Studenteplan. And as an extension, I'm also I wouldn't say spokesperson, but let's say I'm the Mentis representative in Studenteplan. And I'm
Yeah.
also a podcast host and writer for Naguil, which is the Afrikaans wing of Mentis.
Yeah,
Mentis
it's
being
basically the
English.
Afrikaans version of Nocturnal Unwrap, basically.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, it's been exciting. The past few podcasts I've done. We definitely have a bright future ahead of us. Let's just say that.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, just before we introduce Simo, I'd like to know how have you been finding, the podcasting duties? Obviously, you started this year, so you are relatively new to this. So yeah, how have you been finding it? I mean, it isn't easy to host podcasts,
Not
but yeah, you've seemed to fit in quite seamlessly, and yeah, I'm just really keen to find out what it is that you learned or you have learned over the past few months that you've been podcasting, and how is it that you've been able to adapt so quickly?
I would say I've always found it easy to speak to people. But definitely the idea of having these spontaneous conversations on podcasts was quite a scare, I'll be honest. But like I said, it always comes easy to speak to people, and I just kept in mind that this will just expand my professional network. It will just expand the network of people I can expose my peers to, which
Yeah,
is obviously a benefit. And just with student plan in mind, just to there's a lot of issues that are just swept under the rug, which I definitely feel should be addressed, and that's exactly what I wish to achieve here with Nova
yeah.
Mentis and in Naguil, obviously now and then in Nocturnal Unwrap. But it has definitely been a challenge, especially in terms of finding people who are keen to have a conversation with us. But it's been so good, just the spontaneous conversations and just how fulfilled you feel after having those conversations. It's just been amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's wonderful that you feel the same way because I felt exactly the same way when I started as well. And I mean, you touch on a few very interesting things that I'd like us to park on the back burner just a little bit and introduce our guest before we talk about them,
Most
because I do think that that would, at the very least, provide a useful insight into what we're seeking to do this year, and maybe just touch a little bit on Studentaplane. Some of the viewers might not know what Studentaplane is. They obviously just know Novomentis from the podcast I recorded last year. So I think it'd be quite interesting and quite useful to talk a bit about Studentaplane so that people know what it is that we're about. Because I do think that it extends on at least one of the values that we're at Novo Mentis seek to espouse, which is the multilingualism, pardon me, a
Absolutely.
principle of ours. So yeah, we'll talk a bit about that when Simo joins us. But yeah, without wasting too much time, I want to introduce my friend and co-host, Zulu, who I've known for the past, I don't know, 18 years. I think at this point, Simo and I went to school together, and we've kept contact throughout. And yeah, when I was thinking about how I'd like the conversation, or how I'd like the podcast rather, to go in 2022, I mean, I was thinking about how we could introduce somebody on board to help me with my hosting duties. And a few names came to mind. But when Simo's name came to my mind, I knew exactly that I'd found the person that I wanted to host the podcast with. So without being too long-winded, I want to introduce Simo to the stream so that he can just say hi, show face. Yeah, just show us what Simo looks
Good
like.
smile.
How's it,
Before I
Simo?
say anything, I'm good, man. How are you?
I am.
how
I'm well. I'm well. I'm well.
and how are you, Kristen? Long time
I've
no
been
see.
amazing. Long time no see.
Yeah, as in like 5 minutes ago.
you know,
Yeah. No, but thanks for making the time, Simo. I just thought it'd be important for us to have this conversation, especially because we have a few podcasts that are already in the pipeline. And I thought that, just before we upload those podcasts, we just have a conversation with you and let you be the guest. Because for most of the year, for the whole year, actually, you're going to be in my position, introducing the guest and actually hosting the podcast. So I thought it'd be really nice to give you, for the very last time, a chance to be a guest rather than a host on the podcast.
Thank you. And also thanks for the kind words, man. I actually hadn't realized that it's been that long that I've known you.
Yeah.
I was
I know
actually
it's been
taken
a
aback
long
by the
time
18
coming.
years. It hasn't been 18 years per se, but man, it's been long since grade 3.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. No,
quite a while ago.
grade 1, bro. I've got school pictures with you on them.
Yeesh, yeesh,
Yeah.
yeesh, yeesh,
Yeah.
yeesh.
But I mean, in any case, and I think maybe to perhaps start the conversation about, Novo Mentis and what we're seeking to do this year, I think maybe I can hand it over to Kristan. Kristan, do you by any chance have any questions for Simo before we, start talking a bit more about, the values of Novo Mentis and what it is that I think Simo can be of use to?
Absolutely. So when I did your tweet, I had to expand